people are just tapping out because it's like yelling into a void, and it's just like you're putting this time and effort into curating this content and sharing these stories, and the platform is literally actively suppressing it. So I think there's a huge opportunity for innovators in our community to step the hell up and really be pushing forward spaces that we can do. Like, I would love to see a queer business platform, right, that connects people to queer business. Forget about Target, doing with their whims of, appeasing the hateful.
Yeah.
Let's find those communities, right? Let's find people from our community and support them and uplift them and push them forward. Like that's what I think the next step is for us.
Hey, Taryn, how's it going?
It's going well. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Happy to have you. Thanks for being on Ping Slingshot, the podcast. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself to our people?
Sounds good. All right. So I'm a marketing leader and working in Silicon Valley. So I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and just kind of doing the work of a marketing leader and supporting my communities as much as I can and be a positive voice for them. And we'll probably get into it in more detail, but I'm both trans menace and trans ambassador. So I feel like just existing is like a job in itself.
Yes, yeah. There are levels. There are levels to this. Okay, excellent. So let's go at I'll take that in order of intro. So marketing leader. What does that look like for you? You're head of marketing at position 2. Is that how you say that? Or is it position squared? I'm not really sure from the
Position squared.
Okay, position squared.
I'm gonna have to be the brand person and be like, it's position squared. But
yeah. No, that was my question, because I was making up shit earlier. I'm like looking like, oh, is this like a cool, like, now you're position 2 explode, you're position 2 win, and then I just got stuck in my head. So tell us about your position and like what that entails, and so what kind of marketing are you leading and kind of in day to day?
So my career has been, pretty different, right? And it's kind of shown growth, and then of course with a layoff or two, it's been regression and then growth again. Right now, I'm leading the marketing efforts in a small team to really do the internal marketing for a growth marketing agency. So the agency's in the Valley, and we're geared with really focusing on helping innovators win. So getting those Series C, D, E startups or those public companies that maybe need, just marketing help, right? Like maybe the funnel is a little stalled, the marketing funnel for B2B, a little stalled, or not getting qualified leads. That's what the agency does. So we've got a 200 plus person team between India and the US. And for me, what I focus on is a lot of brand activation and brand awareness, right? We need to be known in the Valley. So we target a lot of senior marketers, right, with our marketing to share some thought leadership. So some of the stuff that I'm working on and managing is the organic social, the content marketing, the thought leadership, some email marketing, and of course, event marketing. So if you see my LinkedIn, you'll see me post an occasional event. It's a lot of work, but we get these networking go-to-market events, and we get some really great people there, and it's about having conversation. So I don't do the hard sell. I think for me, I'm kind of following the methodology from our CEO, right? Which is like, have that conversation, ask people what they need, what they need help with, what their gaps are, right? And then work, and they will progress through the funnel, but we kind of always ask about them first, right?
Yeah.
And in our marketing, we just want to kind of share with them our knowledge, our expertise, and what we do. Cool. So I'm working on multidisciplines right now, but it's not always been that way. I mean, throughout the career, I focused on specific channels and disciplines, right? Like I was an email thought leader and I'm doing an email podcast next week, but I was an email thought leader for like 12 years and then moved into and still continued in email up until early 2022. then broke over to multidiscipline marketing that's a little bit different outside of my wheelhouse. So loving the work, loving my team.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting in organic social land too. We know each other from LinkedIn, and certain arising communities in LinkedIn, as those things have begun to happen in that platform over the last few years. And one of the things that I was looking forward to about the conversation that I thought would be a good contrast for folks. Obviously, a lot of this will be useful for people in marketing, queers in marketing or getting into communications or whatever that is, that's where we know each other from. And, there are certain points of emphasis, including that we share, I think, including the approach, like the inbound approach, right? The like educate, ask people, hey, well, what do you need? And then like, let me be helpful. And then, whoa, then people want to work with you and stuff like real, the digital version of how business has always gone if it's been going well forever. And then there's some real differences, right? Now, both in our current setups, right? Because now you're inside and it's a very large 200-person agency and you're looking at specific kinds of clients that are like, hey, you're looking to explode and you're doing these kind of things and we're going to like, and I'm in a very small environment and we work with small environment, we work with small businesses, we have 11 people here in the core team and then the bench and the outsourcers and stuff like that. And our LinkedIn's are positioned very differently. Yours is like, hey, like straightforward, and I'm a marketing leader, and it's got the resume, and you got like all the like things for, and it's like, it's a great, like exactly what you'd want in a LinkedIn. And then I've got some people think abrasive, but like, it's like the biggest posts I've ever had are nothing to do with marketing. It's all about queer shit and weird trauma stories and like standing up for things and being, a little more, I guess, politically active, some people would like to call it, as a platform and, getting the results I get from that, some good, some bad, some, three shutdowns so far and counting. We'll see. I've been kind of quiet for a few months, but I'm coming back next in the
you
next
got me beat by one
as we roll out. Yeah, so you got so it's I anticipate more. I think I know why. I know why I get shut down. It's always in the comment banter though. It's never the actual post, it's the trolls, and they just get me to do enough and then all their people report and then we're I'm the one who gets caught even though people are homophobes and transphobes are trolling, but very different positions, but obviously some kinds of commonalities. And I know that recently you shared something about, maybe not recently at this point, time is a motherfucker, and I'm not sure when I saw this post, but you had a post like specifically like given how the algorithm's going, right? Because LinkedIn has actively, because of the rise of this kind of content, is now changing the system to kind of quiet certain things back down again. And like, it has to be super professionally applicable, which of course is a certain code for stuff, but then also means, legitimate things, but like, okay. But, and to, I know you've wanted to kind of like meet that by changing your content so it doesn't hamper you the same way professionally, whereas I employ much less regard for such things, and so would not be doing that, and we'll suffer. We'll suffer for it. So, kind of tell me about in a conversation we're having where it's about like being able to own certain aspects, but of course that has a balance to it, right? Like there's owning certain things and being a voice, and then having a balance where you still got to get work done. So talk about like how you came to that decision, what you decided to do content wise, and kind of what went into that, and how whatever you might share about that might be useful for other folks who are trying to think like, do I be myself? Like, is that a smart move, or like, what do you have to share about that from your experience?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So like with LinkedIn, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship, right? So prior to transitioning, my LinkedIn was typical mini LinkedIn's, right? Occasionally reposting things, congrats to a friend or a colleague on a promotion, just really basic. I hardly ever used it, right? I was like much more active on other platforms. And then when I started my new platform, my new like profile, right, post transition, because I didn't want to come out to the old guard, because I just didn't want to deal with the BS. I mean, that's a real thing. So I So I always tell people I'm a preemptive cutter. So I cut that arm right off, stick it in the fire, and move on. I don't deal with any kind of like blah blah blah, oh this and that. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever, dude. You do you, right?
Yeah. Somewhere
So,
else. Yeah.
so for me, yeah, exactly. So for me in 2020, I come out, with a new profile and just started really building it up from scratch, right?
Mhm.
And I think by the end of 2020, I was doing more and more personal content, probably in like, because I had a COVID layoff. So I was dealing with getting it, I did some boot camps with General Assembly. As marketers, we want to train like during that downtime,
Mhm.
if we can afford it, if we can afford it and do it, like get that extra education, sharpen the skills, get ready to
Yeah.
get back into the market. So, while I was applying for jobs and looking for jobs, just doing that, educating and falling back on ceremony because, it is a tough slog when you get that layoff and you're trans. I mean, I think because I was out, that hampered the job search for months,
Mhm.
right? Until I found a company that I really respected that knew me previously, and
Yeah.
that gave me an opportunity. It didn't pan out. Ran into some transphobes and some
Mhm.
really abusive personalities, and had to move on to a different opportunity,
Mhm.
which I'm currently at now. But I think through 2021 and 2022, I was really hitting on the real conversations that need to be had, right? So from me, you'll see marketing pieces. Like I'll talk about, I had a couple articles published where I shared some stuff about being a queer leader. I did something about AI. I talk about AI. I talk about leadership. I talk about marketing. I share content that I'll write for work and push it out there. And then I did a whole bunch of stuff for myself, right? And what I started seeing in the beginning of this year, 2023, was like there was a shift, there was a suppression. So as somebody who's mixed race and European, African, and Indigenous, I would share Indigenous content and just notice that it just kind of always missed the impressions, right? It just felt like a little suppressed. So I kept plugging away with that. I've met some amazing Indigenous leaders on the platform, kept plugging away. And then I started seeing the general content of just the well-being, the queerness, the transness, starting to get suppressed. And I was like, I don't know about you, but it takes time to develop personal content and for your personal brand. I know some people hate personal brand because it's so, I don't know, douchey or whatever. But like it takes time to develop that, right?
Mhm.
And I got shut down for the last time. So it was like my second shutdown. And because my ID has not been changed, they will not validate me. And they just left me in limbo. I had to DM. Now I have to DM the CEO of LinkedIn on Instagram to get a human to reach out to me. So
Wow.
I DM'd Ryan, and like 20 minutes later, a real person came back and was like, "How can I help?"
Mhm.
Like that's how bad the platform is. So listen, I'm going to be really frank about LinkedIn. It's your grandma's platform, right? It's it's not great. And even when they say target on what you're an expert in, they still don't promote it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm just kind of feeling like it's more of a sales development, business development tool and less of an actual network community kind of tool.
Yeah.
I think there's still space here in like the interwebs, right? There's still space to have a community tool that we can go to share these stories or stories of
Yeah.
empowerment or stories of trauma that can be like, listen, I got through to the other side. We do need those community platforms. And there's a couple upstarts that are coming, right? Like Trans
Mhm.
Rally and Molly Tommy, that are platforms that are nascent and that are starting out, um, that we should be supporting, right? And joining. So I'm going to be sponsoring personally Trans Rally. I'm hopefully this week.
Nice.
From Dylan, I think you're familiar with Dylan, right?
Yep.
So from Trans Rally. So like I felt bad because I just haven't been able to give John the attention that the platform deserves.
Yep.
So I'm going to be helping out and seeing what I can do there. I joined Molly Tommy and just trying to find those community homes, right? Because LinkedIn is suppressing things, and you've seen recently in the last couple of weeks, a lot of the people we're mutually connected to are just kind of tapping out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the content has shifted a bit, because people are just tapping out because it's like yelling into a void, and it's just like you're putting this time and effort into curating this content and sharing these stories, and the platform is literally actively suppressing it. So I think there's a huge opportunity for innovators in our community to step the hell up and really being pushing forward spaces that we can do. Like, I would love to see a queer business platform, right, that connects people to queer business. Forget about Target, doing with their whims of, appeasing the hateful.
Yeah.
Let's find those communities, right? Let's find people from our community and support them and uplift them and push them forward. Like, that's what I think the next step is for us. Is really like finding those spaces or building spaces for us, because they're not seen as profitable, right? And when you look at it, there's one person on Instagram I follow who talks about the queer community in general, the broad community.
Yeah.
We're talking about, it's like bigger than most states, right? Like, and bigger than like 10 states. Pick 10 random, states in the middle of nowhere. And like the population is much larger. We're talking millions, right? Tens of millions.
Yeah.
Like, we deserve better. And I think we're gonna have to build better to get what we deserve.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, I think
that's where my decision kind of came from, right?
Yeah, you gotta like, here's what it is, right? So deal with it accordingly. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, the episode previous to this, it was Devin from Trans Rally, and like,
I'm sorry, did I say Dylan? I'm sorry, Devin.
No, it's fine. I've discovered
so that's Devin
I'm
from
not a names person, so like I literally keep notes so I know who the fuck I'm talking to at any given moment. Devin, who actually I've been doing some work with. Devin, they're basically the first client for Pink Slingshot, which is like free brand strategy and messaging strategy for queer orgs. And so so we've been in communication, and so some of what we talked about, and I mean, it's what Mattis and I talk about. It's what there is to talk about, is with community. Either there's something that exists, right? Like a specific form of community. Either something exists and there's that to find, or like create it, which sounds simplistic. And some of us have personas that like are more, easy. It's easier for some of us to lean into that because we can do this kind of shit like kind of naturally, right? Versus the heavily introverted, heavily whatever, like, oh, I'm going to create a community. But like, starting somewhere, whether it's a tech community, whether there's a platform, whether it's a fucking meetup on Zoom, right? There's some way to craft something. And in the world of the internet, like, it's actually the overall umbrella word queer, like, community is giant. And with the young folks, like, bigger than ever, because they have more room to actually explore and say things and try things out that other people were allowed. And so what do you know, more of them identify as queer and and trans and all the rest of it. So like, it's only growing. There are enough people where you can be on the internet, you're gonna find enough people to find support, even when you're in some state in the middle, and like, there might not be people right around you, but also they're there too. They might just be a little better hidden, for obvious reasons. So like, find a community, build a community. LinkedIn is probably not the place, but as this airs and stuff, I've got a couple things at the agency level and at the Pink Slingshot level kind of rolling out. So I'll be back on LinkedIn a little more than I've been recently, and we'll be fully testing how much it tolerates of queer forwardness. Because like, what else? If it doesn't tolerate it, that's fine. I'll leave. Like, it being mediocre isn't what I'm there for. Like, I've been on LinkedIn, the local version, and like built a decent network here locally, and in a place like Buffalo that was real forward in 2015 through 2020 and was in good position when everybody had to get online in 2020. That's how I got this position. That's how I've gotten a shitload of clients. Like, it has worked at the regular business level. I mean, shit, people like Chris Walker and stuff, I mean, these folks, like, we were doing events together in 2020 when all the stuff happened. Like, there was a position. I went in a different direction as well and kind of opened it up into more personal stuff as that emerged. And now, like, of course, that platform is trying to crush that down. Like, it's and I know this is not particularly true, but the vibe is a old school business, patriarchal, white guy, fucking bullshit, professional culture platform. And That's the audience. The retired folks and with no profile pics in Arizona, former engineers who are just like looking for people to fucking troll and then report, and the system is
Exactly.
set up to be on their side. So yeah,
I mean,
so we'll see.
I always loved how they made me jump through hoops to verify me
Yeah,
without the matching ID. But I see accounts that started like 2 months ago with 2 followers that are in Miami, that are, I don't know, Miami, Florida. It's like Florida, Texas, Louisiana,
yeah,
Alabama, Arizona. It's like, and all they're doing is just lighting things up, right? It's almost like troll. It almost reminds me of the troll farms on
yeah,
Twitter way back in the day during the peak Trump resistance. Was like
yeah.
you just knew it, right? Like based on like just the profile, not having anything being new or
Mm-hmm.
using English that sounded oddly weird, but it's
Yes,
like,
yeah, yes,
it's just
yeah,
like you could like I think we're all attuned to spotting a troll,
yeah, yeah.
but I definitely think we need to find opportunities to build on things and to support those businesses that are already pioneering things,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that's what I want to do. Like I don't want to make it a conversation about Bud Light or Target or somebody else. I want us to build a space for us. I mean, it's just like it's exhausting, just dealing with some of this stuff. So even in California with that one shopkeeper, right,
Mm-hmm.
who was murdered for a pride flag. It's just like even people who are allies are
Yeah,
getting it,
yeah.
and it's just it's like massive violence. I mean, it was a horrible, horrific thing, and I'm just like, it's gun culture, it's hate. It's like we just need to start building and standing for each other, and
Mm-hmm.
just and we have good allies who are laying down their lives, right,
Yeah.
to represent, and we all deserve better. So I think we're gonna have to build that better.
Yeah, it's not gonna come on its own. That's for sure.
Sorry, I'm an occasional soapboxer, just so you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, marketing leader, I kind of figured, right? So self-identified thought leader.
Marketing leader,
Yeah, we we
occasional.
we, we talk a lot. It happens. Do you market and sell marketing? Cool. We will wait. Uh, so what? So tell me from your perspective. We'll get to the advice, I guess, afterwards. But like in terms of this being a conversation about being better off for having owned queerness, right? Like what would you say specifically in your own personal journey, which you alluded to some of it a little bit ago, right? Talked about like the time frames and then redoing profiles and then coming out and clearly there are some difficulties and we're all aware of like variety of difficulties. So and sometimes something comes out of those that ends up being the strength, but like what would you say about your journey? Like what is it that you've gained? Like how are you better off for queerness and being able to like being willing to like lead with queerness? Like what has it contributed successfully? Like you owning shit on your own terms. How has that worked out for you well?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's been like my story's like so many, right? I know you probably know Vanessa Joy, right? And she shared some of her struggles, right, about coming out in Ohio and losing all of her business, right, for
Mm-hmm.
just living her life. So like
Mm-hmm.
we all have stories that are around that kind of trauma. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, and I don't call it like trans joy or queer joy, I just call it effing joy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, what it is just being your whole self and still like I mean I'm getting misgendered. I deal with like some abuse, light abuse compared to some, but for me like like I just have joy, right? Being my authentic self is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had asked like, well, would you go back in time and warn yourself of taking this path or that path? And be like, no, because the person I was 20 years ago as I was uncovering and unpacking and working through things, was miserable. It just was joyless, right? Like I had
Mm-hmm.
everything people would want and not happy with it. And what I tell you is like, for me, I just stayed the course and I would do it again because where I'm at right now, even with the struggles, even with going on vacation and being openly hated by American tourists. You know, I wouldn't change a thing because the authenticity that I have and the joy I have is powerful, and it's more powerful than I ever thought it could be. Right. So, and that kind of thing inspires confidence. Like, yeah, I go to places that might have a lot of transphobes, a lot of bigots. I've been in spaces where my mom has like asked me, what's wrong with all these guys? I'm like, me, like literally me. They want to kill me, hunt me down, execute me, throw me in a camp, whatever. Someone wonder if they can take me right now. I'm like, that's what we face. But I walk through, and like one of my friends said to me, it's like, everything you face, your head is held high. You command every room you walk in, right? And that comes from the authenticity and joy. That's how it's impacted me. Like, so even dealing with companies that didn't really support it, or have had to jump a couple jobs because of that. Where I'm at now, hey, you know, nothing's ever perfect, but I feel I still have that power of authenticity, and I still have that core joy that's in there. And I mean, that's what I hopefully use to beat down that suicidal ideation from being one of the most hated groups of people on the planet. So, which is a struggle every day. So basking in that authenticity and joy is how I survive.
Yeah.
So, and I think I'm going to just tell you this one story about my CEO.
Yeah.
He never comments on my trans post. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing, and I respect him. You know, because language is new for some, right? And they're not quite sure how to say what they mean without, you know, and the fear of making a mistake, which I always say, like, don't be fearful. You know, do what you can do, and if it is a mistake, just improve it, right? And he said to me that he's like, listen, I never hired you because you were trans. He goes, but I respected the introspection it took for you to look within and to understand who you truly were. And looking at your marketing background, he's like, I thought you would be an amazing marketing leader, you know, because you have that introspection. If you could do that for yourself, you could do that for everything we touch. And I think that's like with the queerness angle, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's like, I feel like I mean, I'm not going to say queerness is a superpower, but it kind of is. You know, it gives us a perspective, right? It gives us a perspective. The fights that we've had to do strengthens us as much as we suffer, right? We are strong, we are resilient, we are vibrant. And fighting through that and embracing each other and supporting each other, right? And like, so I feel like for me, yeah, maybe it is a bit of a superpower, right? Looking within and having the bravery, because being vulnerable enough to come out, right, is pure bravery. And I feel like that's like, yeah, maybe it is a superpower, but you know, it just feels like, you know, that was one thing he looked at and was like, it's not because you are this, it's because the journey you've taken is one that not many people could take, right? Or it takes so much commitment and depth and strength.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, and that coming from someone who's not who's not in the same group, who hasn't had the experience, like really speaks to it. And yeah, no, I mean, I don't use the superpower phrasing a lot because I got too much rebel stuff in me to like go with cliches a lot, you know, like to a fault. It took me to the second, like the final 5 episodes of not Mad Men, fucking Breaking Bad before I was willing to like watch the show. And I was like, oh shit, people were actually right about this one. So superpowers, marketing cliches, it's insane that I'm even in this industry, but also not for like that reason, and the queerness and the other stuff, even before I was willing to fully kind of face and then live into the level of queerness that I've got going on, I was still always like the outside kid. And and so, you know, we can just, I don't give a shit, it's my podcast, I'm going to use language here. You know, I was getting called queer and faggot before I was like seeing that for myself, just because I had colored hair and doing that kind of shit and had certain kinds of personalities that don't just, that, you know, the standard mask folks just don't really adhere to, appreciate, and kind of get triggered about. And so that perspective, I remember, I think I probably posted this on LinkedIn at some point, but I walked into years ago when I was doing kind of like organizational consulting kind of work, like org dev. and I went into a new client's place who was a roofing company, and they're very conservative Christian, kind of like evangelical side, it turns out. And I went in, and somebody had done some Facebook research, and this was before I came out. This was probably 2015 or something, and but it was like a pic of me when I was like 18 playing the guitar in a band with like, a big green mohawk and a ripped shirt and fucking chain and collar on my neck and stuff. And, and they had printed it out and like put it on the thing and then wrote on the whiteboard, like, is this the person we want helping guide our company? And it was, it's one of those like meant to be a joke. Oh, here's the one thing I forgot is to fucking silence my Slack notifications. Kill me. I
love and hate Slack.
Haunts me in my fucking nightmares that when that commercial comes on and like make the sound and I jump. But anyway, yeah. And so it was on the whiteboard, and I was like, it was a joke slash hey, like we have our eye out kind of. It was a family business too. I mean, real fucking nightmare. And I was like, just to deal with that before we started the meeting, I was like, yeah, let's deal. Like this is funny. This is good shit. It's public knowledge, but like that's a good dig. I was like, but also, yes, like for that reason, like if y'all don't need any more of your own perspective, like y'all, like you've had all your perspective for 3 generations of family business, and you're tanking, like you're fucking stagnating. Next gen ain't coming, like, and so what you need is something way outside, like now is far enough outside where that stopped working at a certain point, but like the perspective you get from not being inside of something is invaluable. Like that's the only reason consulting fucking exists, right? It's not because necessarily all the information is new or different, but like someone applying something from a different perspective you don't have. And so having a very different perspective plus an education base, right? Plus experience. But I mean, you can't just be making shit up all the time. Well, if you're confident enough in this industry, you can. For a while, it turns out, you don't have clients for long, but you sound fucking amazing. There is privilege that comes with a certain kind of body and being perceived a certain way, and I can sound confident. And it's just like, what? There's just something about this that I trust. And I'm like, yes, on person, short for confidence, but yeah, outside perspective and queer perspective, because that's like my version. I said it on this pod before, but like queer for me, it's bigger than the umbrella term for alternate gender or sexuality from the norm. Like certainly includes that, but like it's a active outside against kind of position. And so there's been those forms of queer that are like, not like just about those things that I've always seen from, even though I was suppressing a few of those things as well for some decades. And yes, Superpower, right. I have semi-jokingly called myself, and I think it might be on the Pink Slingshot website somewhere, like queer supremacist. So there's the super, there's Bill right in there. Yeah, no, I think we're better. I think that's generally, as someone who prefers openness, like my particular brands of like, yeah, sure, like open to it all, my own expressions, other people's expressions, I think that makes for a wider experience of life, which I think is better. And to your point, like having come through, having a different perspective and a way of being that's fucking like not okay here. And in most places, but it's so different and like hated. And like you mentioned, like being hunted, people being hunted. And I've shared on LinkedIn, like my fucking family members, my dad told me a story, like that's what he used to spend time doing on the weekends, his friends getting drunk and going out in a pickup truck and hunting queers. And I'm like, cool fucking story, bro. So like, yeah, that's like living in that kind of condition and then surviving and thriving and then being able to see like, yeah, I see what y'all are up to and then still win. I think takes far more courage and intelligence, like where intelligence means ability to adapt and survive and thrive in your environments, especially a hostile one. I think, yeah. So yeah, I think we're better. But anyway,
yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I mean,
on this podcast, this is what this is about. We're allowed to say that here, not
yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, I mean, the adversity we face, right? Whether we're ready for it or not. I mean, Jesus, I was like, my mindset as a teenager, right? Because my parents were both conservative and Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of come out. I didn't want to be homeless and die on the street somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went back in the closet, dove back in, but what is buried never stays buried. So
Mm.
kept popping back up in weird ways. But it was like I learned when I was 16 or 17, my ability to blend in with the humans was my survival, right? Like how could I blend into that culture? And I mean, I sucked. Like I wish I was a shapeshifter and I could easily blend into the science culture, but I can't. Or society culture, right? But I can't.
Yeah.
Right? It's but I tried and I tried and tried and tried and
Yeah.
tried. And then finally I just had to have that decision. I had to have a conversation, right? And it's for me, it was like I knew I had to walk through the door, but I just couldn't see what was on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when I came out in 2018, even in the Bay Area, I had a lot of fear. I was kind of like this, like, like trying to shrink myself and, just like, just going to be quietly walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I joked, I forget who I was talking to this recently, but I was like, I walk into Walgreens now, like I'm walking a runway in Milan. It's like head back, chest out, and I'm like, and there's techno playing. And I'm just like, like that's just how I live now, right? But even in 2018, I was like, this is like, shrink
Yeah.
yourself, like, and I'm like, now I'm like, what the hell was I thinking, right?
Yeah.
So you either love me or hate me, and like I said, I feel like I'm the Vulcan ambassador, right, to Earth. So like every time I meet with somebody, I might be the only trans person they're aware of that they've met,
Yeah.
right? And that's cool. Like so, I try to make it like, hey, I'm a human being too. If
Yeah.
you cut me, I bleed. You run over me with a car, I die.
Funny thing. Yeah.
You know, whether I'm a trans guardian or not. So I'm a bit of a Marvel fan. So I was
Mm-hmm.
saying, Asgardians,
Yeah.
freakish strength, hard to kill.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, I I tried to be representative and just, I want them to walk away and be like, wow, they're not the Baba Yaga that DeSantis says they are. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe one day, maybe I'll change your mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll keep going out there until I finally can't go out there, right?
Right. Yes.
So
That's what else is there to do. Yeah. Yeah, I'm slightly more confrontational than that. I have a little less invested in changing people's minds at this point. But that's, I'm here talking about being a queer supremacist. So clearly I've shifted into the Magneto. Like I've left Professor X and I've moved into fucking Magneto thing. Like, listen, y'all, we're better. And if you have an issue, like if you don't have an issue, I got no issue with you. Right. But like if you have an issue, like guess what? I'm fucking better and I can dominate this situation. So yeah, so there's my Marvel thing. Usually I use political civil rights figures for that analogy. It's the Martin and Malcolm kind of routine, but like
I mean, I got to be honest. As soon as you said Magneto, I was like, oh
yeah, yeah. Martin, Malcolm, Harvey, and Sylvia, and then there's
right.
fucking yeah, Professor X and Magneto. Yeah, I started at some point. I was on Xavier's team, and I'm like, you know what, shit. I don't think so, bud. That person who was in the camp has a different insight than you do. And guess what? That turned out to be right. Every fucking storyline, those folks kept coming, didn't they? So yeah, I'm
exactly.
ready for this. I'm ready for this.
I mean, they made like 8 movies on that.
Yeah.
They made 8 movies on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They keep coming. So I tend to a little more forward with that, but still, there's a challenge, and I'm in a place, the agency I'm in, like I'm forward here, obviously, and like out in front of the agency and the VP. And if we're pitching something and it's a high profile, earlier I didn't post it on LinkedIn. I should have, now that I think about it. The fuck, off my game. But it was on my Instagram story, which is far more of the real me version than the LinkedIn. But like, we had a strategy pitch in front of in like a law firm, and like in a large, well-known one in the area and region and stuff like that. And the kind that people are shocked that I would even be walking into. And I walked into, I mean, it was a different t-shirt, but this is how I work. This is, I got my green pants on, my little t-shirt,
Yeah.
makeup on and shit. And like we went and sat down with a fucking, like they had like 10 people in the conference room of some remodeled fucking historical mansion, and we just like, all right, here's this, and like either you get that I know my stuff and this is all fucking fine with you,
Yeah.
or not, right? And sometimes it's fine for a while. Sometimes, if I find out things, or if we get certain reads on people and their companies, and like, no, I mean, literally it's our job, right? In marketing, our job is to help these people functionally have more power, like to have their businesses make more money. And if it's a small business, like that's going right into these people's pockets. And so in certain environments we can go into in upstate New York, and I'm like, no, I have an idea where the power will flow to politically and beyond here, and where the beliefs are. And like, I don't have any interest in this. And I've pulled off of certain things, and we've like just kind of like let certain clients die off in certain cases where it's just like, what, the thing where you see past this temporarily because you're using me as a resource, and I'm seeing past you temporarily to use, revenue in both directions. And then I'm spending all my off time trying to obliterate, and vice versa. And then we're spending our off time obliterating each other from the existence. Is like, why don't we just cut this part out? And so if it's, transparently shitty people and companies with shit, like we don't engage. If that's a vibe, we do use a gut check around here. It's not just mine, but that factors in. And everyone here, the president, like everyone's like, yeah, no, you go out front. And if anyone's got a problem with this, then fuck them,
Right.
And that's nice. Like, you can't find an environment that's supportive unless you are owning your shit, right? Because you never know who's going to support and who's going to, and it comes with the cost. But like, then when you do find one, it's like, all right, that's cool. That it's, and we're losing as much as we're gaining from that one aspect, right? Like my queerness on its own isn't bringing fucking clients in. And it's certainly keeping some out, right? We don't know about it, but it's keeping some out and changing some. But we've taken that, and like whatever we lose, so be it. And what we gain is because we actually do what the fuck we do really well.
Right.
So like, which is the point kind of like of the pod. So given your story and your approach, like what would you say and we can keep it marketing or general professionals, like people coming up, like queers coming up, looking to do better, make more, whatever the fucking deal is, like what advice would you have for them as far as owning their own queerness and how to apply that to actually help themselves professionally?
Yeah. I mean, join, I probably say there's like so many things I want to say, but I'm going to say seek out the community, right? Because I do have a little bit of the Magneto in me, right? Where I believe we are stronger together. And I want to band with, like, I refer to trans people and queer community as my kind.
Yeah.
So I band with my kind.
Mm-hmm.
I support my kind. I will live and die for my kind,
Mm-hmm.
right? Find those communities, find those people, network with them, connect with them, build your sense of community. At work, if you're comfortable, stand for yourself, right? Make your voice known, right? When somebody misgenders me, I correct them, right? I'm like, she, no, not sir, her,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want to call me ma'am, mom, whatever it is, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
But like, stand up for yourself if you can, if you feel comfortable, and know that there are plenty of us out here in this workforce that support and love you, and we're here for you, and here to help, or here to help maybe get you to a better place, like with work. I have a colleague who lesbian, and she had just joined the company, and she saw me, and she like instantly connected with me, and we bonded together. And she's like, "Oh my god, like you're queer too, so like I'm new here, new to the area, like can you help me?" So like we go out for brunch like during the week, we just take that brunch on a Thursday. And just like, but we connected, right? And it's like, know that your people, your tribe, so to speak, or whatever you want to call them, clique, or I forget what Magneto's group was, but the Mutant Society of America, whatever. But but find them, connect with and just help support each other, right? And we all know the stories, we all know the traumas. We like each one of us has a different journey here, right? So just hold space for those people, and just find your kind and just really build it up, right? And at the same time, you're also focusing on your craft and looking for opportunities. So when you know that there's somebody who might be able to help you with something, or you can elevate a voice, elevate another voice. Like I go on LinkedIn now, like I don't do a lot of content like I used to, right? The old transmitter is kind of retired from grandma's platform. But what I do is I find the people that I know the message that they're doing, I engage with them, I comment, I repost, I share. So now I go on LinkedIn, it's not for me, it's for others, right?
Yeah.
So let me help people, help them with their engagement, their visibility. Not that I'm like some huge connector, but I do what I can for the people, right?
Yeah.
And like that's what I would just say. It's like do what you can for your people, and build that community and find that sense of community. And the road is hard and it's long, and you're going to have the ups and you're going to have the downs, but living in your authenticity gives you strength. And there's a bravery with all of us, right? And we all have it in us. So just, stay true and know that, there's millions of us out here, right, that love and support you. And we're here we're here for all of that.
Awesome. Nice. And yeah, the LinkedIn
A
version.
little less Magneto.
Yeah, if you want to compare what the comparison of professor, like we said at the very beginning, the queer LinkedIn comparison of Professor X to Magneto. Look at our profiles next to each other, and then you get the vibe of those two things. Just perfect. All right. So last thing is I just always give the guest, if there's anything that you like, tell us. Obviously, we know LinkedIn. Is there anything else, anywhere else we can find you? Anything you want to plug? Your last going out with a bang message.
Yeah, I mean, please connect on Instagram. I'm Taryn Talley 1. I'm on Threads. I've actually been enjoying Threads. Taryn Talley 1 there. I've been reconnecting with everybody I left on Twitter. I used to be Taryn from the Bay on Twitter, so I had like 13,000 followers, but haven't engaged on it in 2 years. I can't support Nazism. So so I'm on Threads and just finding my blue people, I call them. So I'm a liberal, and I'm just finding my group and finding my queer community and just connecting with them. So hit me up on those platforms, and just reach out. I'm always open. Feel free to DM me on LinkedIn. It'll be refreshing not to get a sales pitch, so or a vendor dropping into my DM. So DM me, ask a question, connect. I'm always open. Awesome. And let me know what I can do for you.
Beautiful. Cool.
That's it.
Well, again, thanks for taking the time with us, for coming on. It's nice to meet you in real life, the internet version of real life. And thanks for everything. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, thanks for giving me an opportunity and a platform to speak. Cool. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, I mean, it's not easy for us to get platforms to speak. So I'm hoping actually, I'm trying to finagle my first TEDx talk. So I'm hoping to get something set up by next year. Yeah.
Nice.
On leadership. So
keep us posted. Yes. Good. Professor X style. Nice.
I don't know about that. I mean, like, listen, it's a bad analogy, but like, I kind of like use the 300 for inspiration, right? So I always tell my team, it's like, listen, y'all, we're only as strong as the weakest shield. So let's band together and let's finish the fight. So, and just kind of like, I do have a little bit of the edge, but I also have a little bit of the diplomat. So that's the Xavier.
Yeah, no, that's good.
It's been amazing. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing opportunity, and great to meet you virtually.
Yeah, likewise.